So good evening, everyone. I'm just waiting for the curator of the Kano Museum to join in. And hopefully in another 5 minutes, we should start the program. My name is Mrs. Adeshola Oyinloye Undu. Thank you all for being here. Okay, I'm just getting a response. She's going to join soon. That's the curator of the Kano Museum. The Kano Museum exhibits a lot of Nigerian historical facts as it regards to the way people lived, the pottery of those days, the traditional wedding, the granite pyramids of the time. I mean, most of us would have heard about the granite pyramids. We'll be wondering where those where the granite pyramids is at the moment, because we don't have it again in Nigeria. Those are the kind of things that sustained our economy. And this is the time for us to start rethinking again, have a rethink of what would sustain our economy, especially as we are now more interested in innovation. The oil subsidy has been removed. What next? How do we get back our economy? So these are what we're going to discuss today. And like I said, I'm just waiting for the curator, Kano. She's going to join any moment from now. And once she joins, we would start the program, which should be not shouldn't take longer than 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So please bear with us. I think at the moment, while we wait for her, we could actually start the video, because I have the video. We could actually start it, and hopefully many more people join. I can see some other people are trying to join. Yeah. So just in about 1 minute, I would start the video itself. It's a recorded video. Oh, okay. She's already I think she's the one, the curator is the one using the Phoenix. Now she needs to, I'm going to tell her to join with her audio. because she's sent a message that she can see me, but she can't hear anything. Okay, so I mean, it's usually in my usual practice, we would start, and anyone who joins would come along with us. So hopefully the curator is able to log in with her audio. She's at the moment, I think she's the one using the Infinix. And okay, now, yeah. Hello, ma'am, are you there? I can see you've connected your audio. Can you hear me, ma'am? Can you hear me? Madam Rose, I can see you've connected your audio. Okay, so in the meantime, I think we just go ahead to show the video of the Kano Museum. And after that, the curator will take our questions. She's already here. Okay.
In Kano history. A monumental museum which was constructed in 1440 by one of the kings in Kano. His name is Abdullahi Burja. Abdullahi Burja constructed this house and assigned it to his grandson, making him the Makaman Kano as of then. His name is Muhammad Rumfa. Abdullahi Burja died in 1452, while his first son, Dakota, becomes the king and died in 1452. With the death of Dakota, Atuma becomes the king, who is a brother to Dakota, and died the same year in 1452. Then Yakubu, the father to Muhammad Rumfa, becomes the king in 1452 and died in 1463, while Muhammad Rumfa becomes the king. When Muhammad Rumfa becomes the king, this house was the first Emir palace in Kano, where he first resided and performed his administrative activity for a while. 7 years later, Muhammad Rumfa decided that there's a need for a permanent Emir palace in Kano, which he goes and constructed a 33-acre land, making it the present Emir palace today. So this house is 30 years older than the present Emir palace today. When the British came and overtook Kano in the 20th century, this house was their first residence. This was where they first resided and performed their administrative activity for a while. As the British were leaving, they decided to divide the house into three. The first portion was donated to the elementary school boards, which is the present Gidam Makama Primary School today. The second portion, you can see it from the outside being constructed into modern building, was donated to the same Makama Home of Nobility. And this particular third piece was donated to the National Department of Antiquities until 1979, when it becomes the National Commissions for Museums and Monuments, but becomes fully an active museum in 1985. Gidam Makama, as a monumental museum, displays various ethnographic and archaeological evidences of history. It showcases various galleries, within which it showcases various galleries, 11 galleries among the context of the house, within which are 2 open galleries, while the rest are all closed galleries as well. This is the first gallery within the context of the house. That is the Pottery Gallery, which has a display of Kano giant hopes, one of the most significant in the development of Kano history as well. They were said to be as old as Kano City was. almost 1,000 years today. The people of those days normally used these pots in storing grains. They normally dig a deep hole and bury them beneath, so that even when war comes and they take in the town, they will still have some remnants of food hidden to eat. The open gallery also displays the cannon guns which were used by the British in bombarding one among the city gates of Kano to penetrate into the interior in 1903 as well. The second gallery, which is the Soro or the Zauri in the traditional architectural structure, showcases the ancient architectural structure of its ancient kind. It is an automated system of building that becomes warm during the Harmattan period and becomes very favorable during the heat season. This is because thicker walls provide cold rooms. The thicker the walls, the cooler the rooms become. In the Asian architectural structure, the Soro or the Zauri is not just a passage, but more of a reception or a restroom as well. The gallery also showcases the display of various building materials, the goat skin or the animal skin as well, the locust bean powder, the locust bean peel, the bagarua, which is the desert gum, the red clay, the laterite, and the kasi, which is a form of alkaline. The combination of the animal skin, the locust bean powder, and the bagarua, which is the desert gum, is used in chopping the straw in order to make the sand sticky applied to the walls. The red sand is used in plastering the interior as well. The makuba is used in plastering the exterior so that even when rain falls, it won't wash away the soil. The kasi is a highly concentrated alkaline gotten from the waste of the dye pit. It is used in sealing the utmost edges so that even when rain falls, it won't drizzle into the interior. The laterite is a kind of a sedimentary rock that forms when there is moisture. It is used in laying the foundation as well. Then the sand. The red sand is used in plastering the exterior. The display of the conical bricks, which are called tubali in Hausa, which is used in the construction of the house as well. The art of building using the tubali is interlocking, making the building stay firm a very long period of time without collapsing. And one most interesting thing about Gidan Makama Museum is that it does not, the galleries or the rooms in Gidan Makama does not have any uniform architectural structure. Each and every room or gallery has its own independent architectural structure as well. This is an open gallery that showcases the display of 5 among the Kano city gates. Among which is the gate of Kabuga, the gate through which British entered Kano. This is the 4th gallery within the context of the museum that showcases the archaeological development of man from the Stone Age to the Iron Age. The gallery also showcases an ancient way through which the people of Kano do worship from the Dala Hill in around 999 AD. Although during this time there were no written documents, but various ethnographic and archaeological evidences prove their existence. The people worshipped in around 999 AD up to 1307 during the reign of the first king in Kano to become a Muslim who decided to destroy this Umburbara worship. It also displays the formation of states, of the Hausa states, of the Hausa Bakwai and the Banza Bakwai, which were the formation of the 10 Hausa states, how they came into being in those early times. The display of the 7 legitimate children, that is the Hausa Bakwai, Also the display of the 7 illegitimate children of called the Banzabakwe as well. The gallery also showcases the family tree of the entire Kano ruling houses from the Habe dynasty up to the advent of the Fulanis in 1807. The gallery also showcases the chronology of Kano emirs from the British overrule to date. Alu Baba, who was deposed, but was the first emir whom the British met in 1903, but they deposed him in Lokoja, where they now assigned Emir Muhammad Abbas Abdullahi to become the king. He died in 1919, and Emir Usman becomes the king and also died in 1926, while Abdullahi Bayero becomes the king and died in 1953. With the death of Abdullahi, his first son Muhammad Sunusi I became the king, whom was deposed by the then Sardauna Ahmadu Bello of Sokoto due to political reasons. Then Inwa was installed, who ruled for roughly 6 months. Then Ado Bayero, who is the longest Fulani surviving emir, who reigned for 50 years. He died in 2014. And Muhammad Sunusi II, who was a former governor to Central Bank, becomes the king and was deposed in 2020 by Governor Ganduje of Kano due to political reasons as well. Then Amina Ado was installed, who is the present emir of Kano today. The gallery also showcases various hunting and war implements as well, as you can see the display of them. The fifth gallery is the Royal Gallery, that has a display of a mannequin that showcases how the emir presents himself before the royal court as well. The gallery was said to be the famous palace to Muhammad Rumfa during his time as well. The Royal Gallery showcases various royal instruments such as the gangi, which is the royal drum, the kaho, that is the horn, the oboe, which is called the algaita in Hausa, then the tridanda or the calabash flute with the gong rattle in display. It also displays the royal slippers, which is a symbol of kinship in Kano, made from ostrich feathers, called the takalmun jumuna, that is the ostrich feather shoes. And one most interesting thing about the ostrich feather shoes is that the ostriches are not being raised and brought up outside the palace. The ostriches are being raised and brought up within the palace. Whenever there is need for it, they will just collect it and make up the sandals as well. And also displays various staffs. The Tagwayam Masu, which is a symbol of kinship in Kano, that is the twin spear. The Kakaki, which is the royal trumpet, and the staff of office, which was given by the British to each and every ruler in order to promote unity among states. The Tagwayam Masu is a symbol of kinship in Kano that came into existence in around 1194 when twins came to rule Kano. The gallery also displays various Doba activities, one of the most significant and also in the development of Kano history as well. Kano people were known from their very best Doba, which was a form of military parading in the early times, but turned out to be a cultural activity today, with a display of various musical instruments with regards to communication. The farming drum, which is used in motivating farmers, and also the display of various horse trappings made from crocodile, and one of the most expensive saddles in the Niger Sudan called the Siddi and Abzin. The context of this gallery showcases how the groundnut is being used in the development of Nigeria as well. When Nigeria was discovered, there was no enough money to sustain its economy as well. Groundnut was used in the development of Nigeria just like a form of trade by barter, where the British sell the groundnut overseas and bring back the money to Nigeria through Barclays Bank to build up a refineries and make up the modern day Nigeria. With the discovery of petrol, the groundnut market disappeared, and the petrol took over the market as well today. The context of this gallery showcases various farming implements, the hoe, and the harvester. This is the 8th gallery within the context of the house that showcases the display of the leisure activities of the Hausas and the Fulani tradition. The Wasan Kokawa, that is the traditional wrestling. The Wasan Dambe, which is the traditional boxing. Wasan Sharu by the Fulanis. And the hoping game by the Hausa little children. We are now moving into the 9th gallery within the context of the house. That is the Islamic gallery. This gallery showcases how Islam came not just to Kano, but the entire Niger Sudan as well. There is no how you talk about the people living within this entity without referring to Islam, which constitutes the basis of their lives as well. With a display of 5 pillars of Islam, the 5 pillars of Islam consist of the Kalimatu Shahada, the Salat, the fasting, the Zakah, and pilgrimage to Hajj. And also a map through which people goes to Saudi Arabia by foot in those early times before plane starts flying. The gallery also showcases the Kiskal, an ancient form of learning, which is just like a reflection of the present-day classrooms, where the former knowledge of Arabic is being also the display of various Islamic scholars from various Islamic sects. Also displays the zodiac, which those people use in prescribing their lunar calendar. And the tomb of Sheikh Usman Danfodio at Hubbari in Sokoto, which has been transformed into modern building today. It also displays the Sultanate to the Sokoto Caliphate, with the seat of Caliphate as Sokoto that performs the presidential function, while the rest 18 flag bearers performs the gubernatorial function. The map of the ancient Sokoto Caliphate before the advent of the British as well. Also the display of the Jihad message by Sheikh Usman Danfodio, given to each and every scholar to declare a jihad in his own states, with the translation of it by accent. The gallery also displays one of the oldest Quran, which was written by Malan Damba Balli in 1903. It also displays the picture of Muhammad Umaru Maitasine, one of the major chaoses that happens in Kano in the late 70s. He came to Kano as an Islamic scholar, but turned out to become a sorcerer, kill people, and eat from the flesh of young babies. But he was caught and assassinated in 1980. This is the 11th gallery this is the 10th gallery within the context of the house, which is the British Gallery that showcases the British expedition in Kano. The gallery showcases how the British came to Kano in 1903, seeking for permission from the then Emir of Kano, Alu Baba, to penetrate into Kano interior for the purpose of trade, but they were totally rejected. The British then moved as far back to the coastal regions of Lokoja, where they began to recruit armies. They recruited as much soldiers as they can. Among them were just few Europeans. They obtained training in a place called Malpati in Lokoja, where they then marched them forward to face Kano people in resistance in 1903. The British now decided to hang around within the walls of Kabuga to celebrate their victory after taking over Kano, with a then picture of the then Emir of Kano, Alu Baba, whom they sent to exile on Lokoja. This was his first arrival before he could even step down off his horse, where they decided to crown his brother somewhere around in that same year for the indirect rule system to take place. This is Lord Lugard. This is Sasagawumbel. The Lancaster House meeting in preparation towards Nigeria's independence is also put to display. And the first visit by the British Queen Mother during the reign of Sunusi I, the grandfather to Sunusi II, in January 1956. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was the first president of Nigeria during the parliamentary system of government, then Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, the first prime minister of Nigeria during the parliamentary system of government. This is the 11th and the last gallery within the context of the house that has the display of the traditional bride's room. The Hausa people call it the Dakin Amaria. In those days, no matter from the home of nobility a woman comes from, this is exactly how her room is going to look like. It is an expensive show-off room. The display of it with a bamboo bed, which is called the Gaden Tukurwa, which is one of the most expensive beds as of then. And even in those days, women were not expected to stay at home doing nothing. So what they do is they spin in order to assist the house help. After spinning, they now take the thread to the market and sell it to the looms. Then the looms will now use them in producing textiles. This is the leafy, just like a reflection of the present-day boxes used in keeping clothes. Then a sitting stool, the tulu, which is used in fetching water. Then the tukunya, which is just like a form of a local fridge. Also displays the akushi, various carvings such as the akushi, the calabash, and the buta. The akushi is just like a reflection of the present-day food warmers, which is used in keeping food, in storing food for a period of time. Then the calabash, the zunguru is what those people use in making henna. Then the calabash flute, it's been escorted by each and every bride to her room for her leisure activities. It is a musical instrument. The gallery also showcases what is called the tandumai, just like a gallon used in storing oil as well. So here we come the end of the tour within the National Museum Gidam Makama as well. On behalf of the curator, I am Ahmad Muhammad Nasir by name. I am privileged to take this tour as well.
Wow. Wow, wow. So much to learn. I don't even know if we should take the first 10 minutes again, or do we just go straight to the questions and answers session? The curator is here. Mrs. Rose, do we have a consensus from the House? Do we take the session again, or do we just go straight into questions and answer time? What do we do? Please, let's hear from the House. Do we take the questions from the do we take the questions, or do we go over the video again? Because I know some people joined about 10 minutes into the video, about 5 minutes into the video. Okay, since I think everybody is happy that we just take the questions. Do we have any questions? This particular museum is full of historical facts. I mean, it has about 10 galleries, 10 or 11 galleries, from what I heard. The old museum used to be the emir's, place before, and now it's divided into so many galleries, about 10 or 11. But Madam Rose, the curator, you're here. Can you please unmute yourself, ma'am? Please unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay, that's nice. It's
okay,
nice.
ma'am.
Yeah, it's nice to hear you. So let me just try to put you. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we want to take questions now. For me, I have a question. I have a contribution as well. I mean, I can see that the building used to belong to an emir before. Now it's been converted into a museum.
Yes.
Which is rich in history. I mean, I could see products. I have Professor Mrs. Windapo on this program. She's an architect. I mean, she's a civil engineer. I'm sure she would appreciate the architectural structure. Maybe we'll hear a bit from her as well. Now, what interests me most could be the Groundnut pyramid. I was actually moved to tears when I saw those Groundnut pyramid and the history behind it. That the Groundnuts were taken outside the country, and they were made into final products for us to use. I mean, at that time, we're generating income from it, not like we have these days with our crude oil. I'm not sure we're generating any income from the crude oil. So I don't know how that process worked that time that they were generating income from the Groundnut pyramid. That really moved me almost to tears when I was listening to that, the history in that gallery. Now, they talked about the 7 legitimate children. I know in those days when we did history, when I was in secondary school, my Form 3 or so, we talked about the legitimate and the illegitimate children. I mean, of what significance will be those, I mean, the need to differentiate between the legitimate and the illegitimate children. Now, the ostrich feather shoes also got my attention. I mean, those will be very expensive shoes. Why is it that we don't have them in mass production, or maybe something that could generate income? Because now everybody is very innovative. We're all thinking about what will bring money to the Nigerian economy. I mean, why isn't that promoted? I don't know why it's just being left to that culture. And maybe they don't even use it again. They don't even appreciate the use of the ostrich feathers again. I think another thing I saw was the doorbell. I know that they normally have yearly this doorbell festival. these are areas again that in my mind I've been thinking, I mean, we need to really promote some of these things. And then going to the bride's room, I saw the bamboo bed and I heard clearly that brides in those days were not supposed to be idle. They were supposed to work, which means that even the culture in those days appreciate that women should be productive in their own right. So do we still have the same culture now? What is different from what we had in those days and what we had now? I mean, these are my own questions. I hope you noted them down.
I have.
Yes. I want to know if other people in the audience also have questions to ask. Please. The floor is ours. The curator is here, Mrs. Rose. She's here to take our questions. This is a very rich museum, especially at this time that we're all thinking about innovation. We're all thinking about making the Nigerian economy work. So please,
Yes.
let's ask our questions. I can see Professor Mrs. Abimbola Windapo is here. I can see Mr. Geminiwa is here. That is like my uncle is from Kogi, and we touched Kogi State because I realized that the British came to Kano, they drove them away or something, then they went to Lokoja, and that's where we have Lord Lugard and the other British. So maybe we want to hear more about that, ma'am. Do we have other people who want to ask questions before the curator, Madam Rose, answers my own question? Please, the floor is open to everybody now. Okay, ma'am, maybe you want to take my own question and then we'll hear from others.
Okay, ma, can you hear me?
Very well, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much for picking Gidan Makama, that is the National Museum Kano, to start with. Actually, the museum, the building itself is interesting, apart from the object that is being displayed. And good to know I have just been transferred from National Museum Mina to Kano. I am exactly 2 months in Kano now. And I find their exhibition quite interesting. So I will not waste much time. Let me go to the first question you asked, which is the Groundnut Pyramid. Actually, the Groundnut Pyramid is synonymous, more or less synonymous with Kano State. It is something that every Nigerian of the, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s knows about.
Yeah.
And then the groundnut production was a key part of the economy of the country. They were viewed, as both a tourist attraction and a symbol of wealth to the country. And they were doing so well. The first person that brought the idea of the groundnut pyramid was known as Al-Hassan Tata. He was a prominent nut trader. He started it and he started dealing directly with the whites. So he brought the idea of piling the groundnut bags into a pyramid formation. And before the entire thing took over in a very large, plain ground in Kano. And then there was a rail line that passes through there. I think they were using the train for exportation of the groundnuts. And groundnuts, quite interesting is that groundnuts can be used for quite a number of things in the north. It can be used for kuli kuli, which is like a local snack. You can also add it to yaji, pepper, because the north use a lot of pepper and a grounded one. We also have the dakwa, it's a snack. We join it with, the tiger nuts to make a snack too. And then we have the groundnut soup, which is locally made too. And apart from that, the groundnut can be taken boiled or fried. So it was a major cash crop for export for the country. But unfortunately, as soon as there was the oil boom, everything went, disappeared. And then another thing that was associated with the disappearance of the groundnuts was the drought issue, particularly in the northern region. And then there's what you call the aphids, a carrier of groundnut russet virus that affected the groundnuts in those days. So that not alone, apart from the difficulties they were having to maintain the capacity or to maintain the quantity of groundnut being produced in the north, unfortunately, or rather fortunately, the oil came into being. And a lot of people, attention was shifted from the groundnut to the oil. And that gradually made the groundnut business to disappear in Kano. Today, the field is just open for football. Children go there to play football, and nothing serious happening there. And then you asked about the seven bastards. The seven bastards is a story, or rather an oral tradition that is associated with the Bayajida. And when you call of the seven Banza Bakwe and the seven bastards and the seven houses, the bastards are more or less like illegitimate children. So basically, Bayajida had concubines. He has his own concubines in those days, apart from the original wife he married in Daura. And so the wife he married in Daura are the only recognized legitimate children of Bayajida. But the other ones he kept aside were seen as the illegal children. And then each town they settled, the town is named after their own names. And that's how we got to know about the Banza Bakwe and the seven Hausa Bakwe. And then I think you spoke about the Ostrich Feather shoe. It is an interesting shoe. The first time I saw it in the gallery, I was mesmerized by it. You can hardly see the entire body of the sandals. It's just the feathers. Until we raised the feather, we were able to see it. And actually, it has not gone extinct, because till today, the shoes are being used in the palace. The last emir that died, he was, that was probably, I asked and they said it's basically the sandal he used most of the time. So when people visit him, they just see the feathers. And they have a lot of these ostriches in the emir's palace. They are rearing them for that purpose. So each time they need a new sandals, all they need to do is get the feathers of the ostrich. And no ostrich from outside is allowed to be used for that purpose. It has to be an ostrich that has been reared, they have reared between the, within the palace. Why I would have said, probably because it's royalty. They have a different way of doing things. You can't just pick an ostrich from outside. They have a lot of, apart of the ostrich, if you look at the horses they keep with them, they have horses, the horses were not this many, but because they rear horses, the number keep on multiplying. And you can, I think it's the same with the ostrich. I will talk about the doba. Doba, it's like it's common.
Which is
we assume common in every part of the north. But it's not actually like that. I have witnessed the same kind of thing in Mina, particularly in Bidda, Niger State. The way they go out to celebrate their Salah, I notice is different from the one in Kano. I was actually privileged to be invited. When they do the Doba, they invite special guests to the field where the Doba will happen. It's about horse racing. It's horse racing they do. After the emir must have gone around the entire town, then they settle there, and it's like an entertainment. People that can ride horses, they go on their horses and then they ride it. And then whoever wins is being celebrated. That is how the Doba is. And it's quite a number, a display of the beauty of their horses. Different kinds of decoration being placed on the horses. Sometimes you get carried away by just looking at them, beautiful decorations, and then they try to adorn them with, shiny regalias and whatnot. And so the horses actually look beautiful. So I think that is one. And then the last one, you spoke about the bamboo bed. The bamboo bed, as of that time, it was the most expensive. Not forgetting that the Amaria room, or the bride's room, as we call it, where the bamboo bed is. The Hausa call it Daking Ergata, is like the room of the most privileged child. You know, a bride that has, you know, have privilege, you know, at her disposal. She has everything given to her. It's not, you know, it's not common with all the brides. It has to be a bride that comes from a home that can afford these things. If the babu is actually expensive, it has to be a child that comes from a home that can afford such a babu. And then the issue of not being lazing around, like we have these days, women just like to stay at home and do nothing. In those days, it wasn't like that. You know, the whatever work they do within their rooms, they don't need to go out. They do it at home. But it is expected that the woman should be productive. The woman should be able to earn some money. A woman should be able to have her own money to be able to do one or two things for herself, not necessarily relying on the husband entirely. So I think they were busy women those days, and it was a thing of pride to have something to do. And then generally, it is an interesting room, actually. It's an interesting room. She has everything in the room. So far, I think these are the questions you asked, Ma.
Okay, that's fine. Let me just stop here. I mean, we can all see it's very nice. It's great to hear that women were not just lazing around in those days. Yeah. I mean, even the religious books tell us about the virtuous woman. A woman is supposed to be hardworking. And I'm glad that this, let us just show that again. I'm glad that I'm glad that let me just try to move that forward. I'm glad that the museum actually preserved this. Let's just listen to it again. It's about 5 minutes.
Comes from exactly how her room is going to look like. It is an expensive show-off room. The display of it with a bamboo bed, which is called the Garden Tukurwa, which is one of the most expensive beds as of then. And even in those days, women were not expected to stay at home doing nothing. So what they do is they spin in order to assist the house help. After spinning, they now take the thread to the market and sell it to the looms. Then the looms will now use them in producing textiles.
Okay, so we've had that here, that women were spinning maybe cotton, and then they take to the markets to be loomed, and then before it is sold. So women were not even expected, even in those days, to just sit at home doing nothing. They should be productive. And for me, I think this is one of the things we need to really, really also keep driving on to I mean, this generation. It's not about sitting there. Even when you say you're a housewife, it does not mean that you shouldn't be productive. Even in Western world, when you're a housewife, the housewife could be ironing clothes, could be nurturing flowers. And by the time she finishes nurturing her children, she could start a florist shop or even a laundrette. So, I mean, this is quite an eye-opening session to let us understand that women should be productive in some ways in their own right. I saw Mr. Femi Da Silva raised his hand at some point. Did you want to ask a question? Yes.
Good evening, Ma, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thanks so much for this privilege. I was just hailing this innovation. Very, very wonderful. I mean, the experience is quite amazing, and of course, I've learned quite a number of things. I just felt that I'm certain more people would want to, just connect everywhere in the world and just try to see what is happening over there in Kano. Amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
And well done to the presenters as well. Well done.
Yeah, that's the curator. the curator of
curator,
the museum itself. Yeah. I mean, one of the
yeah.
things we try to do in this museum project is to showcase our museums in Nigeria, because most people don't even know that these museums exist. Most people don't even know the importance. Like I said, I was moved when I saw the Groundnut pyramid. I think if I'm taking home anything from this tour, the Groundnut pyramid, it keeps setting this question to me. I keep asking myself the question, where are the pyramids? Where have they gone? Why don't we have them again? Why don't we generate income and generate revenue from the pyramids? The oil came, yes, the oil came, but then we shouldn't have abandoned those groundnut. Groundnut is still there. I had my first 2 years in Federal Government Girls College, New Busa, now in Niger State. It was in Kwara State then. And I know that when we go to that time, after a few days before we went on vacation, we would go to the market. We would see the produce, this kuli kuli and the rest of it. And I mean, even groundnut soup, we were eating groundnut soup in school. We were eating it with tuwo shinkafa, I think. They will make the groundnut soup for us in school. These are our own local food that we should not, I mean, allow to just go down like that without without being and they're actually healthy. They're healthy. With groundnut soup, you don't need to add any refined vegetable oil or anything. It just comes like that. So for me, this is really an eye-opening session. Do we have other questions from the floor? I mean, the architectural structure again. I mean, I was asking questions in my mind. I said, yes, the way it is, they mentioned that the architectural structure of the museum is done in a way, well, it used to be an emir's palace that has been established. It's done in a way that it is preconditioned to the weather at that time. So when it's hot, it's not too hot. When it is cold, it's not too cold. I mean, for me, such designs could actually come into what we call the eco houses that we are all building these days. I mean, everybody is trying to save money from electricity. I mean, paying too much on electricity and all that. These are things that people could also bring to the 21st century, in my own mind. Do we have other questions? And do we have other questions? If we don't have questions, maybe there are other things that Madam Rose would want us to know that could help us as we move away from the oil subsidy. No more oil subsidy. Oil subsidy is gone, gone, gone. So we have to be innovative. We have to be innovative. Think of how to generate income. Oil subsidy is gone. Oh. So do we have questions from the floor, please? Professor Mrs. Windapo, we're waiting for you to say something.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much to the curator for a very enlightening tour of the Kano Museum. And but the only query I may have has to do with the fact that she kept on stressing the year AD 999. For some of the, I want to find out why AD wasn't Kano established long before AD 999. I thought it was a very important trans-Sahara trade route, and it should have been established maybe centuries before Christ. So, but why it seems as if the history actually started in AD 999.
Wow.
Can you just give us some information about why we are looking at history from that point in time?
Wow, academics we always ask from the academic perspective. So, Madam Rose, why do we have the history seemed to have started from AD when
Yes.
the tour guide was speaking. You seem to
Yes.
have started from AD. Was Kano not established before? Was it not there before AD? Before what we have?
After that. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much,
Let
Ma,
me.
for the.
Do you
Okay.
want me to show that bit again?
Yes.
Okay, hold
Though
on, man.
I know he started from the beginning with that. You know, the quotation, if you can still remember after the end of the tour, the guide mentioned his name.
Yeah.
And so he's someone that is a researcher, actually.
Yeah.
He's an ethnographer. Allow him to go through because it's like part of what they do. The AD, Kano may have existed before then. You know, the issue of understanding this thing probably came up when the British invaded Kano or during the British expedition. You know, they may have been existing. You know, they have there was a Kano city. There is some part of it that is still standing. The Kano city wall that surrounded the entire city. And that particular building happens to be the first Emir Palace in Kano. When they built it, before they moved to where they are. So the 99 AD, honestly, I cannot express too much, Ma.
Let's listen to that bit. Hold on, man. Okay.
Hello?
Listen to that.
Hello?
Please see.
Okay, let's listen to it.
Yeah.
Abdullahi Burja constructed this house and assigned it to his grandson, making him the Makaman Kanu as of then. His name is Muhammad Rumfa. Abdullahi Burja died in 1452, while his first son Dakota becomes the king and died in 1452. With the death of Dakota, Atuma becomes the king, who is a brother to Dakota and died the same year in 1452. Then Yakubu, the father to Muhammad Rumfa, becomes the king in 1452 and died in 1463, while Muhammad Rumfa becomes the king. When Muhammad Rumfa becomes the king, this house was the first Emir Palace in Kano, where he first resided and performed his administrative activity for a while. 7 years later, Muhammad Rumfa decided that there's a need for a permanent Emir Palace in Kano, which he goes and constructed a 33-acre land, making it the present Emir Palace today. So this house is 30 years older than the present Emir Palace today.
Okay. I want to.
Commissions for museums and monuments.
I'm trying to see exactly where it's.
It showcases various galleries, within which it showcases various galleries, 11 galleries among the context of the house, within which are 2 open galleries, while the rest are all closed galleries as well. This is the first gallery within the context of the house. That is the Pottery Gallery, which has a display of Kano giant hopes, one of the most significant in the development of Kano history as well. They were said to be as old as Kano city was, almost 1,000 years today. The people of those days normally use these pots in storing grains. They normally dig a deep hole and bury them beneath, so that even when war comes and they take in the town, they will still have some remnants of food hidden to eat. The open gallery also displays the cannon guns, which were used by the British in bombarding one among the city gates of Kano.
Okay, so from what we just watched, we saw the pottery. The pottery was there, like he mentioned, that about 1,000 years. I think that's where the question from Professor Mrs. Windapo came, that the pottery, the about 1,000 years since they've been there. So I mean, and she's wondering that did Kano exist before 1,000 years, even though maybe it wasn't bearing the name Kano at that time.
Yes, Kano existed more than 1,000 years ago. Because if you look at the monumental building that is housing the museum, the National Museum Kano today, we talk about it being created in 1440.
Yeah.
That is like close to 700 years ago. You on the 700 years ago. And it's possible it existed, not possible, it existed, but probably not the name Kano. You know, eventually names started coming up, and Kano happens to be part of the seven, the seven legal children of Bayajida. And it was when he came in that they adopted the name, because each town they settle, the town takes, the town is named after one of the sons of the Bayajida. So the town must have existed. It must have existed because it's a well-established, it's a Hausa settlement. And if you have gone through their culture and how they do their things, you know that they have been there for quite a while. And it's a tribe that cut across, most of West African countries. That we have a lot of them that speak Hausa. So it's not a Nigerian thing. They have been there all along. So we can say that they never existed before. They have been there. So probably I will have to apologize for, I know the area she's going through. Maybe we have to, it's an observation you have taken and we have to look into it so that we will not face such a thing again. Kano has been existing long before that.
Yeah, and even your your argument that the Kano is named after one of the seven sons of the king of the emir shows that it's been in existence before then. But when they came to settle there, that's when it started bearing the name Kano after
Yes.
the legitimate son of the emir at that time. So I think that explanation is should be added next time to the tour. Yes, so that people don't keep wondering, 1,000, is it just 1,000? Is Kano just 1,000-year old and all that?
Yes.
Well, these are the kind of things that we try to explore in this program. We try to set some records right. We try to also, try to understand and even learn from history. I think Professor Mrs. Windapo is still going to say something because I can see she's...
No. I just wanted to say thank you for the explanation and everything. Yeah, I really appreciate it and the insight. Thank you.
Your explanation, really, really just settles the whole question that the Kano was named after one of the sons of the emir, and that once they get to a place, they name the place after themselves. So certainly that place has been in existence even before
the came.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any more questions before we call it a day today? It's been quite an eye-opening, interesting session. I'll try to see if we can make it on YouTube to make it a bit, for the public on YouTube, or maybe unlisted so that very few people get the link. People especially who attended this program will have the link, and we can go over it again.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, Mrs. Jejelo is about to say something.
Okay.
I can see you're muted.
Yes, it's actually good evening. In fact, it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting talk. I want to thank you for the insight. But I've learned a lot. But I've been hearing about these, stories until now. I'm seeing live. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any more person to comment or ask questions before we call it a day today? It's been quite an interesting session. I can see Mr. Ariyibi, Barrister Ariyibi is there. He's always he loves to ask questions. I'm surprised he's not asking questions today. Probably he's in a noisy place or something, but he would always ask questions. So I think we want to thank everybody. Thank you, ma'am, curator, Madam Rose of the Kano Museum. Thank you so much
Thank you, ma.
for giving us this opportunity to explore. Somebody's just coming in, so sorry. To explore the Kano Museum. I mean, we are not taking it for granted. It's coming to us in our various rooms, bedrooms, sitting rooms, classrooms, wherever room we're in, kitchen. We thank you for giving us the opportunity, Madam Rose, the curator. Thank you so much, Madam. For our friend who is just joining, sorry, we unfortunately have just come to the end of the program, but we will send the link the much we can. If you can give me your telephone number, you can just, Mrs. Clara, if you can leave your telephone number in the chat box, we will send the link of today's program to you. Thank you all. And we hope to see you again next month for another, maybe we'll be going to Mina. Mina is another very exciting one. We had that as well a few years ago. We might actually have Mina again. I know Madam Rose is no longer there. We have another curator there. So hopefully we'll be bringing Mina up again next.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a very good evening, everyone.